but we've got a lot to go through today, a lot of news today, and we appreciate you joining us. I want to let you know a little bit of what we have coming later in the show. At 11:40, we are going to talk the NFL draft because the new general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars really shaking up the state of the entire draft by trading up and picking Travis Hunter. So that's big for the team and for the rest of this draft moving forward. We're going to talk with Tim Walters about that coming up later in the show. The Veterans Memorial Plaza in Volusia County on the bridge at Daytona Beach is now open. We'll take you inside that special ceremony just a little bit ago, coming up in a little bit. At 11:15, Congressman Maxwell Frost is holding a news conference in Orlando outside the Social Security office to talk about what he says are growing threats to Social Security benefits and to the people who depend on those. But we begin today with a question. Is the Democratic Party dead? That is because of something that we heard yesterday from now former Senate Minority Leader Jason Pizzo, who stepped down from his leadership role and also announced he's changing his party registration from Democrat to no party affiliation. In his remarks yesterday on the Senate floor yesterday afternoon, he called the Democratic Party dead. Here's some of what he had to say.
And despite what social media surfing may try to lull you into believing, the political party system here in Florida is nearly dead. Like the infighting, power struggles, corruption, and decline of civic virtue that pervaded and eventually ushered in the fall of Rome, so too are we players, or perhaps props, in the mess that is modern partisanship. I have long had a feeling, confirmed, I think, empirically by 7 years of service in this chamber, that partisanship holds us back rather than propels us forward. Less gets done, not more. Our constituents are craving practical leaders, not political hacks. We are entrusted to be guided by our conscience, and while I suppose it's easier in theory than it is in application, even my worst detractors have no valid claim that I can be bullied, that I can be bought, or even borrowed for a special interest. I really truly do care about all of you. But here's what I'm not going to do anymore. I'm not going to pander. I'm not going to rule and lead on probation. I'm going to follow my heart. And here's the issue. The Democratic Party in Florida is dead. But there are good people that can resuscitate it. But they don't want it to be me. That's not convenient. It's not cool. The Republican Party has a lot of problems. I said, and you've heard me say, that the pendulum is going to swing so far and the gluttony so strong and so viscous that it's going to swing back. I'm not having a Jerry Maguire moment right now, like, who's coming with me? But that's the truth. The party that my dad volunteered for in JFK when he was 18 years old in 1960 is not the party today. It craves and screams anarchy and then demands amnesty. That's not okay. I've always been criticized by the far left and by the far right. But you know what the small businesses and the hardworking families and the teachers and the cops and the firemen want us to do? Be public servants, not politicians.
And so that's some of what he had to say yesterday, Senator Jason Pizzo, on the floor of the state Senate. So what does this mean? And is the Democratic Party in Florida dead or dying? That's the question that I posed to UCF political science professor Aubrey Jewett just a little bit ago. Senator Pizzo said yesterday that the Democratic Party is dead, but also said there are good people to resuscitate it. So I want to get your take, Professor Jewett. Is there a pulse for the Florida Democratic Party, or is it time to write the obituary?
Well, maybe a little of both. You know, the obituary part comes from the fact that just a few years ago, Florida was considered one of the most competitive states for presidential elections anyway. And since then, we have seen Republicans take a giant lead in party registration, about 1.2 million voters today, whereas back then, Democrats still had a small lead. And in voting behavior, it's been even worse for Dems, even better for Republicans. So that's sort of the obituary part. But you know, on the other hand, there still are millions of Democrats in the state. There are still some very talented politicians who are Democrats in the state. And so what they have to do is figure out what policies can they push to bring voters back to the Democratic Party. So probably a little bit of both right now.
We also know he's the third sitting Florida lawmaker to leave the Democratic Party in the last 6 months. So should that be concerning to Democratic voters across the state?
Well, yeah, I think to Democratic voters and to Democratic office holders, when you saw a couple House members get elected as Democrats and then shortly thereafter switch parties to Republicans, that makes you have to think as a Democrat, why are they doing this? I mean, first of all, you get upset about it because, hey, they got elected as Democrats and now they're switching parties. But then I think, you have to do some soul searching and saying, why are these people changing parties? Or leaving the party. In the case of Pizzo, he didn't change all the way over to Republican, but he has left the Democratic Party.
We know, and we've been tracking for a while, the change in voter registrations in the state. We know the GOP holds an edge of more than 1 million voters, and that continues to grow across the state. If the Democratic Party is dying in Florida, what is the cause of death?
Well, I think it's probably two main things have caused these big changes in voter registration. The first was the COVID-19 pandemic, that once in 100-year pandemic, and Governor DeSantis' response to it. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the change in Hispanic voters primarily, but some Black voters as well. Quickly on each, for the pandemic, originally DeSantis was pretty much like every other political leader in the country, sort of struggling to figure out what to do because, by definition, a once in a 100-year pandemic, right? You don't have any experience and you don't know what you're dealing with. But once we got, say, 6 months, a year into it, he just decided it was time to reopen the state. And then he took fairly strong stances against mask mandates, against vaccination mandates, and these sorts of things. And that really attracted a lot of new voters to the state who were disproportionately conservative and Republican. Before that, we were growing fast as a state, but we were getting about an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. But anyway, so that really attracted a lot of new conservative Republican voters. And then the other thing is Hispanic voters. For many years, a lot of political analysts thought that Hispanics, on average, especially as the Hispanic population grew in Florida, that would help the Democratic Party because throughout most of the country, historically, Hispanics have been more Democratic. But here in Florida, what you saw was, especially down in South Florida, a lot of Hispanic, Cuban Hispanics, Venezuelans, and others really believed when Republicans charged Democrats for being socialist. And so that was the other big changes. You just have seen an enormous number of Hispanics either changing party registration or younger Hispanics as they have gotten to be 18 and registering the first time or choosing the Republican Party.
Professor Jewett, let's talk about 2026 and the governor's race, because I don't think these things can be taken in isolation. We know the Florida Democratic Party, in their response to Senator Pizzo, said they called it a temper tantrum for failing to get support behind a gubernatorial bid. But this also comes as a former Republican Representative David Jolly switched his affiliation to Democrat ahead of a likely, expected, anticipated run for governor.
Yeah, with Jason Pizzo, it is interesting because he's had a leadership role in the Democratic Party for some time. And then for him to say, oh, the Democratic Party's dead and this sort of thing, well, that's sort of an indictment on your own leadership. As some other Democrats pointed out, they said, hey, he's been in leadership. So if there's been failed leadership, it's on him, right? And you have to figure that a big part of this decision is not just about the party politics, but it's about his desire, Jason Pizzo's desire to run for governor. And so I think he's positioning himself. He once before said he wouldn't run as an independent or an NPA, but it appears that maybe he's changed his mind and figures that he has a better opportunity to win if he runs as an independent or NPA than he does as a Democrat. I might add our own, well-known lawyer, John Morgan here in Central Florida seems to be taking the same path. He had left the Democratic Party a while back. Now he's been talking about potentially running for governor, but doing it under a third party label. And then on the other hand, you do have David Jolly, former Republican, who's now switched to the Democratic Party because he feels like his best path forward to run for governor is to do so as a Democrat. So yeah, some of these decisions are more about the individual person's strategy about what's the best way to move forward to run for governor than they are about an indictment more broadly about the party system.
So what do you think are the odds we have in this governor's race coming up in 2026, a Republican candidate, a Democratic candidate, a potentially high-profile NPA candidate, and an even higher-profile third-party candidate in John Morgan?
Well, yeah, it would be interesting. In American democracy, usually when we get to a general election, it's two choices. It's a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, for most elections, for most voters, that's what they face. But theoretically, we could see a much more wide open gubernatorial race here in Florida with 3 or 4 candidates on the general election that actually have the money or the power or the political party backing to run a decent campaign. I would say my initial gut feeling is, given how well Republicans have done in increasing voter registration, and we have lots of studies that show that voters who are registered with the party tend to stick with that party when they vote. You know, a split election between 3 or 4 candidates probably is good news for Republicans because they have the lead in voter registration, and their voters have historically shown they turn out and they're loyal. So in one sense, having 3 or 4 candidates, not all with party labels, might actually work to the benefit of Republicans. But we'll have to see.
It's been interesting to watch already, and we are only halfway through, not even halfway through 2025, so still a long way to go, still a lot to watch.
Indeed, yeah, it's even though Florida politics has changed quite dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years, it's still quite interesting, and we don't exactly know what's going to happen. That's for sure. It changed rapidly one direction. You never know; it could always change back the other direction as well.
We'll be right back on Fox 35 News Plus. Keep it here on Fox Local. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson joins me now. And Jess, happy Friday to you, getting ready for this weekend. We know it's going to be warm, and one thing you can bank on is that it's going to be dry.
Yes, for sure. Happy Friday to you too, and everyone at home watching. Yeah, we're going to be expecting this dry trend to continue, and you can tell from our drought monitor, we really don't need that. So we need the rain, and as of right now, we are still under this extreme drought for those red areas you see. The rest of us are essentially under a moderate and severe drought. So this is really essentially the driest we've been in about 8 years, since 2017. So that's pretty historic in itself. Now, when it comes to burn bans, we still have those in place for pretty much all of our counties. The only exception being, say, Marion County and also Osceola County. We've had a couple of counties added to that. We've had Sumter County added to that list, Flagler County as well here as of late. So just keep in mind, this includes, try not to park your car over a patch of dry grass if you can help it. We do know that one of the wildfires was caused because of that, and obviously that's not on purpose, but there are little things you can do to really help it out as a whole when it comes to this drought situation. So just a couple of things to remember. I will say though, at least the other side of the coin, this drought is and this dry weather is creating a really nice forecast for any sort of outdoor plans you might have. The rest of today will feature a partly to mostly sunny sky. Temperature is still staying well above normal. We're going to be expecting a high of around 89 degrees today in Orlando. And there is going to be kind of a gradient as far as our temperatures go with just how hot we get. So areas closer to the beaches, they're going to be a little closer to the upper 70s and low 80s. Meanwhile, areas a little further to the west, as what we have seen so far this week, they're going to be closer to the low 90s. So today in Orlando, high of 89. Meanwhile, in Bushnell, high of around 92, 91 even in the villages to, say, Ocala. Along the beaches, we're going to be closer to the low 80s, even 82 degrees from Cocoa Beach to Melbourne. So it is going to be a really pleasant stretch here over the course of this afternoon. Still staying dry. That trend's going to honestly continue for the weekend as well as we heat things up. In fact, temperatures by Sunday, I would not be shocked if some did make a run for the middle 90s. So high of 92 Saturday, around 92 as well Sunday, but I do think a couple spots could make a run for, say, 93, maybe even 94 degrees. Bottom line, it's going to be pretty hot and fairly stagnant as far as the air is concerned. Maybe a light breeze Sunday, and that will be accompanied by a couple showers even as well. So that's going to be our next chance of rain. A very small chance, but it is a chance nonetheless. So this is going to be taking place mainly for Sunday afternoon. So let's take you through future clouds and radar. This is one of the more recent models that has come out in terms of helping to kind of pinpoint exactly when and where these showers will be coming our way. As of right now, it looks like late afternoon and evening hours are when we're going to be expecting the rain. As of right now as well, only about a 10 to 20% chance for Sunday. I even think this model in particular is being fairly generous with how much rain we're going to see and the coverage area as a whole, but still a couple spotty showers. It's something. As we head to Monday, a slightly better chance, so closer to, say, 30% chance. And we'll start off Monday morning dry, but looking ahead closer to, say, midday, the early afternoon, by 2 or 3 o'clock, that is when we have much higher chances of seeing some of these showers and storms. And again, it does look like, yes, we'll see some, fairly scattered and isolated downpours, maybe not quite as widespread as what we're seeing here, but you get the idea. Rain is in the forecast at least. And some of these downpours, I will say this, they could contain some frequent and vivid lightning, and that may lead to additional wildfires. That's the only kind of bad side of this, is the fact that, well, yes, it's on a weekend too, for Sunday showers as well, but we don't, when we have cloud of ground lightning strikes, that can help to create additional wildfires. So that is going to be something we have to watch out for as we head over the course of the coming days. But hopefully we just see a good soaking rain, because that's what we need, and a good amount of downpours. We'll continue.
All right, thanks, Jess. We want to get you now to a news conference in Orlando where Congressman Maxwell Frost, standing outside the Social Security Administration office there, talking about what he says are mounting threats that DOJ and Trump cuts pose to Social Security. Let's go ahead and listen in.
You're afraid what you're reading about. You're afraid what's going on at the Social Security Administration and in our federal government and across the entire country. We know that costs are on the rise. Costs at the grocery store are on the rise. The stock market and folks' pensions, 401ks are plummeting. The Trump tariff war has created so much instability in our country, all in service of him consolidating power for himself and enriching his billionaire friends and corporations. And the federal government is attacking your very livelihood and existence left and right. Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress are fighting to take away your Medicaid, making sure that we take away health care, Medicare, SNAP benefits, and they're fighting to take away a program and change a program that impacts so many people, Social Security, a program that's not an entitlement, it's an earned benefit. It is something people have paid into, and it is part of the social contract of this country, something that was proposed by Democrats, seen as a far-left radical thing, and today is a fact of life for Americans across the country. Here in Florida, in our 10th Congressional District, we have over 113,000 of our neighbors that are on Social Security. That's about 81,000 retirees, about 15,000 disabled workers, about 8,000 children, 6,000 widows, and about 3,000 spouses, all relying on Social Security to make ends meet after losing a loved one or facing unimaginable hardship. These are our parents, our grandparents, children, working families, people who have already lost so much in many cases. And the Trump administration, backed by GOP lawmakers, are actively trying to rip away not just the benefits, but the people who process these claims, the people who send the checks. I don't care what Donald Trump says. He's a damn liar. And when he says he's going to love on Social Security and he's going to love on Medicaid, the question is, if you're going to love on these programs and protect them, why are you firing the people who actually administer the programs? This is why wait times have gone up so much. And actually, under the Biden administration, wait times got a hell of a lot better. But now we're back in the same bus. We just finished a roundtable with the people behind me. These are lawyers, advocates, retirees, people who are advocating for the disabled community, and AFGE is here, which is the union that represents the workers at the Social Security Administration. We know that there's been mass firings and layoffs, absolutely nothing. And it has impacted the checks that go out. We know that the Trump administration and people like Elon Musk have been spreading so much mis and disinformation. And we have to ask ourselves this question, why? It's to sow distrust in this really important program because they want to privatize everything. They want to privatize Social Security. They want us to put the Social Security Trust Fund into some market so billionaires and corporations can make more money off of it and can make money off of it. And to that we say, hell no. And that's why we're here today. To say, number one, your congressman is fighting to protect Social Security. And it's not just about protecting these things. I didn't run for Congress to protect the stuff we already have. I ran for Congress to build the world I want to live in. And we know we need to expand and strengthen Social Security. We need to raise the cap so we can ensure that Social Security is here for me. And Social Security is here for people younger than me for decades to come. And this is part of the social contract of this country. And at the same time that they're trying to go for nutritional assistance, that they're trying to ruin Social Security, that they're trying to get rid of Medicaid and Medicare, costs are skyrocketing, and Donald Trump is doing absolutely nothing about it. Social Security is not some government handout. It's an earned benefit, something you pay into every single paycheck of your working life. It's a promise, and it's a contract. And we're not going to let people like Donald Trump and spineless politicians, and, you know, this shouldn't be a partisan thing, but it's a partisan thing right now. It's Republicans in Congress that are bowing to Donald Trump and not stepping up. Just recently, a few of my Republican colleagues have been saying stuff on the news that they disagree with what the administration is doing, and I'm glad they found it within them to say something, but now we need you to do something. And they've had it easy. Over the past few months, the administration's done all this stuff through executive order. Why? Because they can't pass a bill. The Trump administration is very weak. They can't pass legislation. So they have to do everything through executive order. And what that does is it gives my Republican colleagues an out because they don't have to vote on this very unpopular stuff But that's about to change. We have a budget coming before us that is going to include about $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, which about the same number of people who receive Social Security here also receive Medicaid. About 110,000 people have health care because of Medicaid. So this is about protecting Social Security, but also about the other programs that working people have fought hard for generations. So thank you so much. And with that, I want to introduce from the Senior Resource Alliance, Gary. Where are you? Oh, right here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Congressman Frost, for your leadership and convening this crucial discussion on protecting Social Security access for our community, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. My name is Gary Appelses. I'm with Senior Resource Alliance. We are the area agency on aging for Central Florida. We cover Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Brevard counties. Our core mission is to empower seniors to live independently and with dignity. We serve as a vital resource hub connecting older adults, their caregivers, and families with essential services and support. The Social Security Administration services increasingly shifting online. Many seniors now face new hurdles: limited digital literacy, lack of access to technology, and understandably reluctance to going on public Wi-Fi's or unfamiliar websites due to concerns about their privacy. Navigating government programs like Social Security becomes even more daunting without adequate direct support within person or online. This is where community organizations like Senior Resource Alliance, particularly through programs like our SHINE program, become absolutely vital. Our SHINE program, which stands for Serving the Health Insurance Needs of Elders, is a cornerstone effort to assist seniors with complex government benefits, acting as a vital bridge to Social Security services. SHINE counselors are highly trained volunteers and staff who provide free, unbiased guidance on Medicare, Medicaid, and related benefits. A core part of this is helping clients navigate the intersection of Medicare and Social Security, as the Social Security Administration is a primary gateway for Medicare Parts A and Part B enrollment. Our counselors provide hands-on assistance answering common critical questions like, how and when do I sign up for Medicare or Social Security, and through Social Security, and what penalties might I face if I don't enroll? Beyond Medicare enrollment, SHINE provides essential guidance and application assistance for Social Security Administration administered programs for vital low-income seniors: supplemental Social Security income, SSI, LSI, low income subsidy, which helps clients which helps seniors with pharmacy and drug needs, and Medicare savings programs. We help clients understand their eligibility, gather the paperwork, and complete the applications, ensuring that they can access the crucial financial lifelines that they need.
At news conference in downtown Orlando continuing right now as officials and advocates talk about protecting Social Security. According to numbers from Congressman Frost's office, saying 113,000 Central Floridians count on Social Security benefits, and talking about the increased cost of living that makes it harder for fixed incomes anyway, but warning of some changes within the Social Security Administration that could put some of those Social Security benefits in danger. Talked about stepping up to make sure those are protected. We're going to go ahead and take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We know that it has been 1 week, more than 1 week now, since the shooting at Florida State University, and in a Fox 35 exclusive, we had a chance to speak with a shooting survivor who told Fox 35's Randy Hildreth that she played dead after being shot on the campus. She's now back home in Land O'Lakes after being released from the hospital, and again spoke with Fox 35's Randy Hildreth.
For Madison, her story isn't as much about what she's been through. When I talked to her today, it's about how she's processing and moving forward.
1 week later.
Physically, every day has been better than the last. I've been up and walking.
Today is a good day, considering everything 23-year-old Madison Askins has been through.
Some slight pain, as much as one can, with a bullet in her back.
She's one of the 6 FSU students injured during that shooting on campus last week.
Shot in my right buttock. And I don't know if it was the way I was positioned or something, but the bullet traveled through my right side into my left, and it landed in my L5 vertebrae.
Madison was walking to grab food with a friend at the student union when the suspect allegedly started shooting. She tried to run but was shot and fell to the ground. Her friend ran to safety. Madison played dead to save her life. She said she heard the gunman approach and reload his weapon. Eventually, he left, and Askins stayed where she was until an officer came to her rescue. She says she's not a victim, she's a survivor.
I want to keep going forward. I don't want the guy who did this to win. I refuse to let it.
So she's walking, getting her strength up to go back to school to finish her master's degree, making her parents proud with every step.
Watch her give her story, and it's just like, wow, she's an impressive young lady. So it's proud. She's not going to let this beat her at all. You can't beat that kid.
2 people were killed in that mass shooting, Robert Morales and Tiru Chaba. Madison says she wants people to remember that each person has a story to honor.
Don't gloss over the lives that were lost, the people that were injured. We are real people. We are not just numbers.
Madison had an internship set up for the beginning of next month. She's pushed it back to give herself some more time to heal, but she says she plans to be in place for that and says she will graduate from FSU with her master's degree on time. Reporting tonight, Randy Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
Absolutely incredible story, inspiring, and glad to see her on the mend after all of that. We should note that the funeral for one of the victims who was killed in that shooting, the South Carolina man, Tiru Chaba, that funeral going on this morning in Greenville, South Carolina. In Orange County, an arrest has been made charging a woman in connection with setting fires. She's accused of setting brush fires in Orange County, happening as multiple counties right now are under an active burn ban because, as Jess was telling us just a little bit ago, the extreme drought. Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie has more on how crews were able to put out the flames.
The Department of Forestry tells Fox 35 that their crews were in the process of putting out another fire deep in the woods of Alafaya when their crews noticed a woman allegedly starting additional fires. Bulldozers had to be brought into the area to keep those flames from spreading. You can take a look at her mugshot here. This is Amanda Clark. She is behind bars, accused of lighting multiple fires in the woods near O'Berry Hoover Drive while firefighters worked to contain a fire that was already burning. The Florida Department of Forestry says one of their workers saw the whole thing and a nearby resident called 911.
He told her to stop and she didn't stop. She lit another one.
Questions are also being raised about the fires burning in Palm Bay on Wednesday. The Palm Bay Fire Department tells us extra police were requested to keep a close eye on an area around where the fire burned at the compound. Officials say they don't yet know how the fire started, but firefighters on the scene reported their concerns. Now, multiple burn bans are in effect throughout Central Florida, and that means police officers can cite people for not cooperating with the rules. Reporting in Orange County, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
And let's give you a live look right now at the Kia Center, where the Orlando Magic going to be back home tonight for Game 3 of the playoffs, and they desperately need a win. They're down 2-0 in that series against the defending champion Boston Celtics. But it's not just the game. There's also a lot going on for the fans in the area tonight. Fox 35's Morgan Parrish has those details.
Tonight is Game 3 of the series, and unfortunately the Magic, they're losing that series right now 2-0. They weren't too far behind the last game. They lost 109-100, so I'm hoping tonight they can pull off that win. It's going to be at 7 o'clock tonight. We know fans are going to be out in full force, and that's what the Magic says they want to see. They say they really want that support from the fans, and also they have a really neat fan experience going on right now. So the Magic announced everybody in, and it's a bunch of activities and fan festivities that's happening during the playoffs. So there's going to be t-shirt giveaways, an immersive light show for all fans, special opening player introduction videos, enhanced performances during the game by Stuff, the 407 hip hop dance team, 321 Hype, Magic Beats. There's also going to be Fan Fest on Church Street, and that's going to be from 5 to 7 o'clock tonight. And then that's also going to have food, a DJ, inflatables, and we also know there's going to be a watch party on Wall Street as per usual. And fans also, they can enjoy 50% off Papa John's Pizza the day after every win throughout the playoffs, so let's hope that they can get that started tonight. And during that post-game interview during last game, the players say they are just excited to return home for Game 3.
Last year was really fun playing at home, so hopefully we can get Game 3 at home and make it a series.
So this is an important game, right? We need them to win to keep the series going. So hopefully they pull off that win. Again, the game is at 7 o'clock tonight, and you can still purchase tickets. I think the Magic's going to come through. We know on the Celtics, Tatum's out, so they have a little bit of an advantage there, but they do have to keep an eye out for Jaylen Brown. We know the last game he had about 36 points alone, so he's kind of their secret weapon right now. But we're manifesting good vibes. We're wearing our blue. You guys are singing the song, so that's all we can do, right? I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Hey, whatever it takes at this point for a Magic win. Definitely need one tonight. Tip-off at 7 p.m. Going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but when we come back, we're talking the NFL Draft with Tim Walters and some big moves from the Jacksonville Jags. So keep it right here on Fox Local. We'll be right back.
With the second pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Hunter, wide receiver, defensive back from Colorado.
Travis Hunter, the pick from the Jacksonville Jags, who traded up to get him and really kind of shook up the draft from the very beginning. So joining us live now to talk about this is Tim Walters, who's the sports editor of the Florida Times-Union and Florida Today. And Tim, appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I wish I had a shirt that color pink, but I'm not sure how I'd show up in that. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that all of us can pull that off, but he certainly can. I loved seeing his excitement as well. You know, sometimes some of these players don't show all that emotion, but he seemed excited to be drafted by the Jags at number 2.
yeah, well, if I was going into the draft thinking I was going to end up in Cleveland and then I ended up in Jacksonville, I'd be pretty happy too. It's also only about 5 hours north of where he comes from down in West Palm Beach. So, you know, our partner website, the Palm Beach Post, they had a story with his dad last night because, you know, he's from down that way. And then, of course, we were all over the coverage. Super happy, surprised, obviously, to see it. You know, the new GM, James Gladstone, said that they were working on this for about 2 weeks with Cleveland. So pretty good job of keeping it a secret. It never leaked out. And, you know, one of our guys here in Jacksonville, Justin Lewis, he wrote a story last week saying the Jags should push all their chips on the table and go after Travis Hunter at number 2. Seemed a little far-fetched at the time, but now we're proud of Justin. Good job there.
Yeah, how about that? So I'm sitting there watching the draft last night. They announced the trade, and I said, this means they're going for Hunter. I mean, it was the only kind of possible explanation for that at that point. So what does this do for the Jags now?
Yeah, I love what it does offensively because now you're partnering Travis Hunter, and I think his skill set as a receiver, a little bit better than, you know, as a corner, but he's still very good there. But you're pairing him with Brian Thomas Jr., and you had to make a splash there because if you look at what they did this offseason, they traded Christian Kirk, who is a very good receiver for them, but he's been injured the last couple of years, traded him to the Texans, and then Evan Engram, who's kind of been their main target the last 2 years, the tight end, they cut him. So that left a couple of pretty big holes out there. So, you know, they went in, they got a receiver in free agency, certainly not, you know, somebody that was going to be a number 1 or number 2 guy. But now you get Travis Hunter, you've got Brian Thomas. Trevor Lawrence has really good weapons around him. So I think that's the biggest thing it does right there is you got, you know, incredible players on either side there.
And he is quite a get for the Jags. And you've got some stuff to kind of put a little bit of this in perspective for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, the Jaguars have had a first-round pick in all 30 of the past drafts that they've been a part of, this being the 31st now. But, you know, they had never traded down or I guess up that high to take a pick. So, you know, it's big that they're trading up and they're trading away a first-round pick next year. So again, that's a first for them. So they won't have a first-round pick in 2026 unless they pull off some other trade this year or next year. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But so that's a big one. And then this is only going to be their second Heisman Trophy winner that will actually suit up in a Jags uniform for a regular season game. Now, I say regular season, that's important to note because right now it's just the first one ever was Desmond Howard, who won the 1991 Heisman at Michigan. He played with the Jaguars in their inaugural season, just a modest success there. They've had 2 other Heisman Trophy winners, very notable guys, suit up for them in the preseason, but they didn't make the squad. Ultimately, that was Tim Tebow, who, of course, we all remember his brief stint with the Jags, cut by his own college coach, Urban Meyer, that he won a national title for. And then the other was Andre Ware. Andre Ware was in that inaugural 1995 Jaguars team in the preseason, but of course got beat out by Mark Brunell and several other quarterbacks for that spot. So, you know, just bringing in only their second Heisman Trophy winner, the first one that they're drafting. This one will probably make more of an impact than Desmond Howard did.
Do you think the Jacksonville Jags will let Travis Hunter play both sides of the ball?
Yes, in fact, last night in the very late press conferences that they held, both James Gladstone, the GM, and the new head coach Liam Cohen, they had both essentially said, look, we're going to get him in. his skill set, his best skill set is wide receiver right now. So we're going to get him into the wide receiver room, and then we're going to be teaching him some of the defensive things, but they want to kind of ingratiate him to the one side of the ball before the other. They do want to use him for both, but I think his snaps are going to be a lot more limited on defense than offense. However, if you know how bad that team was last year on defense, 32nd in the league, in fact, in passing yards allowed, then they're going to need a good player there. Now, they could certainly pick someone up now in the third round. You know, they traded away the second rounder for tonight. They were expected. There were a lot of people thought that they were going to take the cornerback Amos from Ole Miss. Well, now that's not going to be an option. So maybe they take a corner with their third pick, but they're going to have to build through the draft. Right now, going into the draft last night, the Jaguars had the fewest number of players signed to their actual active roster in the entire NFL, which means with 10 draft picks, and they still have 10 now, even after the trade. So they're going to be getting 10 draft picks. They're going to be looking at undrafted free agents, other free agents out there. They have a lot of spots to fill. So they also have a lot of, I guess you could say they have a lot of open space to work right now. And that's what James Gladstone wanted.
And I would imagine Trevor Lawrence is pretty happy to see a playmaker like Travis Hunter added to the roster.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, unfortunately, we haven't heard from Trevor Lawrence yet. Travis Hunter will be in Jacksonville today at 2 p.m. He'll be holding his press conference, his first one as a member of the Jaguars. The Florida Times-Union will have photographers, reporters. We'll be doing all sorts of coverage. So you can check out jacksonville.com. We've been doing a lot of great work there before the draft and now leading up to it. But we haven't heard from Trevor. We did hear from Brian Thomas Jr. last night because one of our reporters, Gary Smits, was at the Lemon Bar on the Ocean, which is a bar owned by Shad Khan. It has a capacity, I think, of something like 1,200, so it must be a huge place there on the beach. They couldn't hold it, a draft party at the stadium because of the renovations and construction going on there. So Shad opened up his bar. He gave free passes out. The place was packed to the gills. Several Jaguars players were there, including two of their picks last year, their kicker Cam Little and Brian Thomas Jr. And Brian Thomas just sounded over the moon to be able to look at the other side of the field and see a guy that he knows is as athletic and as skilled and basically as young as him. So, you know, what a great thing for Trevor Lawrence, who's only about, 25, 26 years old. Now he's got these two really young receivers. That's going to be an exciting offense. They picked up some offensive linemen in the free agency period, so they've got him a little bit more protection because that's been a problem. Now they need to get the defense straight. They probably do need to take a couple of more linemen, but there's still lots of ways. They got 9 more picks to go between Friday and Saturday.
All right. Yeah, the NFL draft does continue tonight and into tomorrow as well. Before I let you go, just want to give a quick update on a couple of the players that we had talked about before when it came to Florida prospects. Miami quarterback Cam Ward going to Tennessee as you expected. Colorado's Travis Hunter to Jacksonville. Ashton Jeanty, the Jacksonville native, being drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6, and then Tyler Booker, who played at IMG Academy, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. So anything else stand out to you, Tim, before I let you go?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, everybody, a lot of places were going after Tennessee trying to get Cam Ward, but they said, no way, we're not getting rid of him. That wasn't a surprise. Obviously, Travis Hunter was. Ashton Jeanty, I actually like him landing in Las Vegas because you've got Pete Carroll there now, and he's brought over Geno Smith to be the quarterback. They have maybe the best tight end in the league. He had an all-time rookie year last year, and now you're pairing him with this great running back who also, he's kind of from that area of the world. Las Vegas is not too far from Boise State, so you're staying in an area where the people are really familiar with Ashton Jeanty, so really happy for him. I think that's going to end up being a good situation for him. And then, Tyler Booker, anybody that's going to have that giant of a man blocking for them, and now Dak Prescott, he's got to be really happy because he's needed some help the last few years also on his line. So getting Booker in there, I think that's going to be a good thing. So, it's a good thing for all of these guys. They all have their Florida ties, and, I can't wait to see them on Sundays next year.
All right, Tim Walter, sports editor for the Florida Times-Union and Florida Today. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
All right, thank you, Garrett.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It was a special ribbon-cutting ceremony today for the Veterans Memorial Plaza in Daytona Beach. I want to play for you a few minutes of that ceremony as they unveiled and cut the ribbon for the grand opening of this new special place along the Halifax River.
It is an honor. I was here for the groundbreaking, and we had a vision of what this would be just on a picture. And to see it in person is unbelievable. Josh, Billy, those of you that were part of this project, I can't thank you enough. And this, if you've driven over it at night to see the lights shine up on it, this is a solemn place. This is beautiful. So if you get the opportunity, please do so. You really want a different perspective, look at it at night.
Good morning and welcome to the grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Veterans Memorial Plaza, presented by the Very Honorable Volusia County Council. The citizens of Volusia County, the Tom Stade family, MGN Contracting, and all others who have contributed for the completion of this meaningful project. This new Veterans Memorial Plaza was designed to recognize, honor, and celebrate all military veterans and their families, and it is a fitting memorial for those who have served and for those who continue to serve our great nation, the United States of America. This new Veterans Memorial Plaza itself is an integral part to the adjacent Tom Stade Veterans Memorial Bridge. Tom Stade was a United States Marine Corps Korean War veteran. This Veterans Memorial Bridge was completed in 2020 and has 2 traffic lanes, is 1,800 feet long, and contains wide sidewalks for military disabled users, and has 28 memorial plaques commemorating all United States military conflicts throughout its history. Now, the Volusia County resident members of the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame take this opportunity to express our most sincere gratitude to the Volusia County Council, the Tom and Barbara Stade family, MGN Contracting, and all who have participated in helping to provide this beautiful new Veterans Memorial Plaza.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today for this official opening of the Veterans Memorial Plaza. You folks hear me okay? I'm County Judge Robert Sanders. I've been presiding over the Judge David B. Beck Veterans Court for the west side of Volusia County since 2018. Judge Brian Feigenbaum presides over Veterans Court here in Daytona Beach. In fact, they have a session going this morning right across the way at the Stephen C. Henderson Judicial Center. And I believe they took a quick break to come over and watch some of the speakers.
That was from the grand opening ceremony of that Memorial Plaza that includes flags for the 6 branches of the military, a World War I memorial, and a 6-foot fire monument engraved with the names of Volusia County residents who died in the line of duty. So that is certainly something to see now when you're driving across that bridge or making.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox.